So as everybody knows, when the Trojans are winning, heads start to turn and decisions get reconsidered. So with USC now 3-0 heading into this weekend, previously committed recruits are decommitting. Find out who coming up next.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're downloading your podcast, we are free. Remember that word. We are free. And thanks for coming along for the ride. Truly appreciate you. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate me, and I appreciate you hitting that subscribe button. And if you just want to hear the voice, head on over to your favorite platform, download, and then follow me on my Twitter at Mark Culkin. All right. Look, I've said it before, but it definitely bears repeating. Playing defense against USC is really a pick your poison type of death. If you drop 7 or 8 into the passing lanes, the Trojans, they're going to march down the field and run all over you. They've shown it so far. They've got 600 yards through 3 games over 600 yards on the ground through 3 games. So you let them run their way to the end zone. The Spirit of Troy is just going to get warmed up and play fight on. It's just going to take longer for them to get there. Load up the box, and of course, Caleb Williams is going to pick and choose which receiver he wants to complete 80% of his passes against. That's what you're up against. Again, USC, they score touchdowns, and field goals are kind of the cherry on the top of the sundae. They have a very efficient offense, especially when they get to the red zone. But they're going up against a team, Saturday, Oregon State, that is pretty efficient on their own on offense. And when they get into the red zone, efficiency is definitely part of their vocabulary. They're 14 for 14 with their red zone opportunities. 12 of those are touchdowns. So, Alex Grinch was asked about what he knows, what he remembers about Jonathan Smith, who is now Oregon State's head coach. But those two were familiar with each other when Grinch was the DC at Wazoo, Washington State. Jonathan Smith was a offensive coordinator at Washington. And so after Wednesday's practice, Alex Grinch had the following to say. I remember not being able to stop them. As a competitor, you don't want to forget those Saturday afternoons. What Smith has done, he's done it for a long time, and he believes in what he does. He has a tremendous track record, end quote. He continued, he has really recruited the right guys for a system. They play fast, they play hard, they play physical. You can tell that they're developed. And so I've got nothing but good things to say about him as a coach, and certainly respect for them as a program. So I guess with the Beavers feeling competent, they've started their season this year 3-0. They still remember what they accomplished in Los Angeles last season. I know I do. I know the team does that's still around. I think Alex Grinch knows that his side of the ball is going to have his hands full trying to contain an offense that can run and pass the ball equally effectively. And, they also have a wildcat quarterback that they'll throw into the fray when the opportunity presents itself, like it did with their last play of the game win against Fresno State 2 weeks ago. Grinch, he commented on that specifically. That's a lot of conflict on 7 guys every single snap, and they do it with a number of different personnel groupings. So it's not as simple as saying it's 2 back or 1 back or 1 tight end, and then you get some wildcats. you have to deal with, and then you have to prepare for that. They're good at what they do, and it's a real challenge. So in my Thursday column over on wearesc.com, I mentioned how effective the Trojans are, the Trojan defense is, when the opponent enters the red zone. I put this in my yay or nay column. So, the effectiveness of USC's defense in the red zone, they're holding their opponent to 53.8%. We'll round it up to 54% of the time in the red zone. That's how often USC's opponents have scored. That is a pretty good number. When you're basically holding the opponent, scoring half the time, that's going to get the job done. And when Grinch was asked about that, he basically said this: it's just battling. It's not giving in. It's having an awareness about you that is like, make them run another play, make them run or play. No magic here. Certainly, sometimes we wish there was, but give our guys credit. We've held up in some situations thus far, but it's a little different animal in the red zone this week. He's right. Based on the numbers, I went over the numbers on yesterday's episode. Oregon State and USC match up well against each other. This could end up being a shootout. I don't see it that way. I've been on the record. I think USC, they're going to go into this game maybe with a chip on their shoulder, maybe with an underdog mentality, and maybe Grinch, maybe he's going to take that approach, and he should. Again, and USC has proven that they can win on home, they can win on the road. They've already done it at Stanford, but this one feels a little bit different. Almost to the point where maybe Oregon State is feeling a little disrespected. They're not ranked. This game is pitting 2 3-0 teams against each other. USC is highly ranked. And for whatever reason, the game's been relegated to the Pac-12 network. So it'll be a very small, intimate crowd up there in Corvallis, approximately 26,000 plus standing room. And all those hundreds of thousands of people, I'm sure there'll be millions watching somewhere across the country on the Pac-12 network, if you can find it. So, again, maybe USC should go in there with that underdog mentality. And then you should head on over to Underdog Fantasy. This is a new sponsor we have. They're the easiest place to spice up your college football season. They're easy to get started and easy to play while you're watching your favorite team play. So head on over to Underdog Fantasy, and this is what you want to do. Basically, they have these over-unders. You pick your favorite player from your teams and some things they want to accomplish. You go over there, you sign up. And then what you're going to do is this. You're going to sign up with my promo code LOCKEDON. That's one word, LOCKEDON. And Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Deposit $100, you're going to get $100 free. Again, we love that word around here. So go to UnderdogFantasy.com or find the Underdog Fantasy app in the App Store or at the Google Play Store. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code LOCKEDON, one word. Get in on the college football pick'em action today. Sounds a lot of fun. I think I'm going to head on over and do that. Especially if it's easy. That's what I'm all about. So at the top of the show, I mentioned USC has some recruiting news, or I alluded to it, kind of teased it a little bit. Well, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish received a decommitment on Thursday, and according to wearesc.com's Scott Schrader, there's a feeling simmering that the former commitment of Elijah Page out of Pinnacle High School in Phoenix, Arizona, he could likely flip to USC. Not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. Not going to say it's going to happen in a week. I can tell you that I will be heading over to his high school game Friday night to watch him and his teammate Deuce Robinson, another high-end tight end prospect, 5-star that USC is all over. So there was this feeling that USC. This is where Elijah Page, the offensive lineman who was decommitted from Notre Dame. There was a strong feeling that that's where he was heading. He was going to go to USC, and then he took his official visit to Notre Dame back in June. Well, since June, Notre Dame has gotten out of the gates very slowly as a team. Football, they struggled to one win, and if you watch that win against Cal last week, the argument can be made that Cal probably should have won that game. Meanwhile, USC and Lincoln Riley stayed after Elijah Page, and Traveler left the gates really quickly. In fact, I would say they left Notre Dame's Fighting Irish and their Lucky Charms in the dust. On that note, again, he's teammates with Deuce Robinson, 5-star tight end prospect, and there's been a very strong feeling that Deuce Robinson has been leaning to USC for a long time now. Is this a package deal? We'll find out soon together. But again, the feeling is eventually Elijah Page is going to make his commitment to USC public. There was a dramatic pause there for a reason. You figure it out. Assuming Elijah does become a Trojan, he's going to be joining USC's offensive line class for 2023 that already includes interior lineman 4-star Micah Banuelos, interior offensive lineman Amos Talalele, as well as another interior offensive lineman, man-child beast Alani Noah, and then you also have offensive tackle prospect Tobias Raymond. So that gives USC, what is it? Let me do quick math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 6, and USC isn't done. Good news, huh? And here's the thing. That wasn't the only recruiting news. When Elijah Page decommitted from Notre Dame, obviously that kind of got everybody's wheels spinning and figuring, oh, when's he going to commit? When's he going to commit? Well, USC actually did receive a commitment on Thursday. Dejon Lafitte, and not to be confused with Dejon Benton. Dejon Lafitte is listed at 6'3", 260 pounds, and he looks like he's going to be a Russian prospect. And USC needs help like today. So hopefully this hidden gem, he turns out well. The On3 recruiting predicting machine had him heading to Arizona with over 83% of the I don't know what you call them, crystal balls that were coming in, had him going on to becoming an Arizona Wildcat. But he also had interest from Tennessee, Washington, Oregon State, San Diego State, Boise State, among others. USC offered a few days ago. He jumped. And I'll tell you what. He looks like, just from the little film that I've seen, which is very little, the young man out of Colony High School in Ontario, California, he looks like he's going to be a player. So, look, like I mentioned at the top of the show, when USC is winning, USC essentially will recruit itself. And if they're impressive, as we're finding out, other recruits who might have made a decision too soon are reconsidering those commitments. Right now is a good time to be a Trojan. If they win up in Corvallis, which I think everybody anticipates or is hoping for, look for USC to improve to 4-0, number one, but look for recruiting momentum to continue to pick up. All right, so in this segment, we're going to go over some more USC news and notes heading into their game this weekend. It's not all good news. Unfortunately, Lincoln Riley confirmed with the media on Thursday via Zoom call that rush end Romello Height, who transferred into USC from Auburn during the offseason, he's going to miss the rest of the season. He had a procedure done earlier in the day or in the week on his shoulder, and more than likely he's going to be out for the rest of the year. That's unfortunate because, as you know, I've been stressing, that position was already thin depth-wise, and so you now lose one player more than likely for the year. Now, I think based on what Solomon Byrd did last week, I think he's taken over that starting role, and I think it's at least it's assumed that he'll be starting Saturday. And Corey Foreman is improving. So this is what Riley had to say again during our Zoom call with him Thursday morning after USC had their mental strain practice of the week with Alex Grinch and Lincoln Riley. I feel fine regarding the depth at the position. This is Lincoln Riley talking. We've talked a lot about Solomon stepping up. Corey's improving, does a lot of really good things, and I think we'll get more consistent. And we've worked hard to develop some depth. Having some of those guys out at times has allowed us to shuffle the lineup. And we've got some different skill sets on that defense that we can make work. And also, that's where having a creative defensive staff is important. Because sometimes when you lose guys, you have to think outside the box. So we'll continue to evaluate the roster, get guys in the best position. If we have to adjust, we'll adjust. What Lincoln was talking about, or at least alluding to there, we've seen Tuiapelotu play inside over the ball. We've seen him play defensive tackle. We've seen him play outside in that, I guess, what we would call 7-gap area, rush end. You've got Julian Simon, who is obviously going to be moving up the depth chart now. You've got Solomon Tuliaupupu, a.k.a. Solo, who can play rush end. He can also play inside. Again, they're going to have to get creative. There's no two ways to look at it right now. I've warned about it. The one thing that could really derail this USC Trojan train that is looking really good, moving really fast, playing physical, are injuries at key positions that can really, really hurt this team. I don't know if that rush-in position could absorb another player loss. You'll start taking linebackers and having to shuffle them down one level. There's only so many players on the defensive line you can move around, right? So we'll see. Knock on wood, that was the last significant injury of the year. We don't want any more. So what about it, USC fans? Do you still feel fine going into this contest? The line has, at least on betonline.net, it opened at USC minus 6.5. However, apparently money is flowing in right now on Oregon State to cover that spread. USC is number 7 in the country. And so, according to, and this was tweeted out throughout the day on Thursday, more money has been wagered on Oregon State to cover the spread, now still 6.5, versus number 7 USC than any college football or NFL game so far this week at Caesars Sports. That's nuts. So one sportsbook has taken a $110,000 bet on Oregon State to cover, plus several other five-figure wagers for the Beavers to cover the spread, not necessarily to win, just to cover. So I'm thinking this has to go back to, the stuff I mentioned on yesterday's episode regarding the times USC has gone into Corvallis highly ranked. Look, the betting public has long memories. They do their homework. A lot of people do this for a living. Vegas does this for a living. So I think they're looking back as, all right, USC's highly ranked, and they've lost a key player at a position. They know Oregon State can score. I think everyone's, as I talked about earlier in the show, everyone is anticipating a shootout in this game. I'm not. I still think USC is going to run away with this game. With that said, the betting public, like I said, they know what's going on. And if people think that they should put their money on Oregon State, who am I to tell them not to? I don't think it's a smart bet. We'll see who's right when we get together the next time on Locked On USC, because you get me 5 days a week, and this is our 5th show of the week. But I'll be back again. We're going to talk about USC versus Oregon State extensively, as well as any other news, notes, and information that comes up, any more recruiting information. I'm going to have you covered regardless when it comes to this USC team. Football, and as we get closer to the basketball season, we're going to start talking basketball too. So this week is over. Until then, everyone, go FO.